Good evening, everyone. Hi,
Oh,
I am Chrissy. This evening, we will be talking about mental health because we have the whole month. So, first and foremost, as I always like to do, I like to give a salute to all of the first responders and everyone that is still out in this pandemic. As even though we are getting vaccinated more and more every day, people are still dying and people are still there to help them as some of them recover. So, salute to you that are on the front lines. Now, I want to introduce my special guest, Miss Shanita Burks. How are you? Hi.
hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming. So, this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and you are a licensed therapist, correct?
I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor. That is the
The
full
full title.
mm-hmm, mouthful, but yep, that's it.
Okay, okay. And just tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, your background, and who you are, and I'll let them know how we kind of know one another.
Okay. So, like you said, my name is Shanita Burgess. I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor. I got my bachelor's degree in Columbia, South Carolina. Went to Winthrop. For those people that are from the area, go Eagles. And that's in Rock Hill, South Carolina. That's where I got my master's degree. I have been working as a therapist 6 years. You know, time flies when you're in a panorama. So I think it's 6 years now that I've been.
6 years. Woo.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I currently own a practice called Actualized Counseling and Community off of East 5th Street. And I also run a mental health blog on Instagram, Shanita with two underscores B.
Yes, so that's here in Charlotte, North Carolina, by the way, for our viewers that are elsewhere. But during the pandemic, I'm sure you got a little creative. Are you now taking people from elsewhere?
Only am licensed to practice in North Carolina,
Okay.
but when the pandemic hit, it got pretty busy. So I'm currently full. I can no longer accept any more clients.
Oh, well, I don't know if that's a congratulations or I'm sorry, that people are experiencing so many mental issues that they need to reach out to more therapists. We had a therapist on previous, and she experienced the same thing. A licensed therapist who was saying that the it's a good and a bad. Good for business, but bad because people are experiencing mental health issues.
Yes, it
So.
wild. It was like just as the pandemic hit, it just went just like that. So yeah, mixed emotions for sure about it.
Yeah, yeah. So I know you because I've been watching you for quite some time on Instagram and all of the positive motivational items that you place on your page, and different techniques to use for people that may suffer with mental illness or anxiety, depression, any of those things. Because I often tell people that I may not suffer from depression, but I do have anxiety issues, and I did seek therapy, and I continue to seek therapy, and it's great. It's wonderful. It helps me tremendously. So I often tell people that if you're going through something, to reach out, find something in your
Mhm.
insurance and your community to get some help because it really, really, really makes a difference. It made a difference for my life. So again, just reaching out to you on Instagram and building a relationship with you, I asked you to join the show this evening, and you agreed, and I am so grateful for
Yes, thank you so much for having me once again.
that. So, how did you really get started? You got your education, but from there, well, let me back up. Why this field? Oftentimes people go into fields and other people go, "That's the field you chose, but why?"
Right. Honestly, I wish it was like a fun story. Usually people kind of have like these interesting fun stories when they start in a career path, but I've just always enjoyed listening to people talk, talking to people. I love to chit chat. Um, as my sign says here. And just over time I took my first psychology course in high school, and I loved it so much that I knew immediately when I went to college that's what I wanted to study. And
Hmm.
just over time with talking to my friends, not being experienced or licensed, but just chit chatting and wanting to help, I knew I wanted to do that for more people, and I love the feeling I got from helping people and just loving to help folks in general.
That's
Yes.
good. I often hear that people in any field of medical field or health anything, well, mental health and fitness, all of that. They like helping people.
Mhm.
They like helping people, and not everybody does. So that is a special gift that you have.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is something you were born to do because not everybody can do it. Not every people can talk, but not everybody can listen. So you are a blessing to the community of people that need you.
I hope so. Thank you.
Yes. So why was it important to you? And you said that you like listening and talking to people, but why was it important to you for this particular field?
Mental health in general,
Yes.
I think it's just something that came kind of natural, like naturally extroverted. I just naturally like to listen and help. I'm an eldest child, so sometimes if you look at Alfred Adler, eldest children love.
Yeah, I'm one of those.
Mhm. We
You
like to.
gotta listen to everybody.
That's right. We love sport, so it was something I came into pretty naturally, honestly.
Okay, okay. Yeah, right now I feel that we're gonna have a whole new group of young people that are gonna come into this field
Hmm.
because they're experiencing so many things on so many levels with the pandemic. And they're gonna be those next group of people that are willing to help everybody get through this because what I'm finding and reading and seeing online a lot that this pandemic is going to affect people's mental stability, the mental, for generations,
Yeah.
because you're not just dealing with older people or my age group. Now you have to deal with children that
Hmm.
experience this whole social disconnect during
Yes,
this time frame.
I agree. And to add to that, post COVID anxiety, a serious thing that's been happening. Just going off of what you're saying, like how.
Well, with that, do you think they're gonna add that to insurance? You can go ahead and write that down.
You
Like,
know what? It depends on what people put in that DSM. And for those who don't
yeah,
know, DSM is the Diagnostic Statistics Manual. It's this big purple book that has all the diagnoses for any
the
type
codes.
of with the codes exactly.
Yeah,
So that
yeah.
if it goes in that book, it's likely going to be something that people could get treatment for. Fingers crossed, but
Mm.
folks need it.
Yeah. The world is gonna have this mental sickness from it. I mean, it's something that is not gonna be avoidable,
Yep.
I think the last 4 years, really.
Mhm.
Um,
Traumatic.
yeah, to say the least for some people, where they're gonna have a lot of stories to tell.
For sure.
Um, and it's unfortunate. But again, we're glad that we have people like yourself that are here to help. So, what is the main area that you focus on in mental health?
Really enjoy working with young adults dealing with depression and anxiety. So between the ages of like 25 to about 35, or
Mhm.
sometimes even go younger in the 20s and occasionally work with teens. But people who are experiencing depression and anxiety and they find it difficult to control.
What is the difference in depression and anxiety? Sometimes people go, "You're depressed because or you have anxiety, so you must be depressed." So is there a difference? And if so, could you explain that?
I would love to. So, yes, there is a difference. So, depression looks like when you're feeling low, or sometimes you don't even have to really be feeling low. You could just be going through your day and it could feel super monotonous. It could feel like you can't tell one day from the other. You're just going on and going on. It can look like just flat, not really experiencing any happiness.
Hmm.
It's easy to kind of I can see why those two are easy to get confused because they have similar symptoms, and I'll explain that in a minute. But
Okay.
anxiety looks more like worry. Worry that you find difficult to control, or worry that's outside of your control. So you find yourself cycling in these same thoughts about stuff that might be irrational, or stuff that may never happen, or stuff that's not in your control. But they
Mm.
both have similar symptoms. Like if you have depression and anxiety, you might find it very difficult to sleep. If you have
Mhm.
depression and anxiety, you can find yourself feeling really grumpy or not in the best mood. So sometimes they can be hard to distinguish, but one is usually if you feel flat or sad, and the other one is if you kind of feel worried that's outside of your control.
Wow. See, you just told me. I really did not know. I often tell people I do have anxiety moments, and sometimes my anxiety is like, whew, where I am ready to just explode because I can't get it out. And And a lot of times people don't think anxiety is real, but let me explain to viewers that the episode of anxiety for some people can feel like you're in a tunnel and everything is closing in like this and getting dark. And before you know it, you black, you black out, or you completely can't catch your breath. Your chest will tighten, your heart will pound, for me, it's erratic crying. Can't stop crying and feeling like I'm gonna pass out until I can get to that level of understanding what's happening. So, anxiety is real,
Mhm.
but there are ways to get help for it. I deal with it without medication. Some people may need medication. It depends on your level. Um,
How you described symptoms that you experience in your body when you're dealing with anxiety, because something I notice is we're so used to getting up, for those who have kids, getting the kids together, going to work, going to school, getting the kids, picking them up, taking care of business, making dinner, going home, that we're not really being present or paying attention to the things that our mind needs, and much less, even less than that, paying attention to what our body is saying to us, because a lot of time our body will tell us when something's wrong,
right.
or
Your
everything.
body is your friend.
You can
You
ignore a lot of
know?
thoughts. You can even sometimes ignore feelings temporarily, but your body will keep score of everything regardless.
Yeah, it's, it's difficult. I haven't had a episode in probably a year, and
Me
in all of this, yes, in all of this, can you believe it?
too.
I've been able to maintain, so I'm very happy for myself for being able to, um, learn how to cope. Everybody has a coping mechanism, and I am going to do a plug right here now of a friend of mine that just released her book that's called Together We Are One, and it is a workbook and a coping book that describes going through mental illness. She's a survivor or a person that has learned how to come out of her dark moments, and she wrote this book that it helps people to understand the different triggers and different things that a lot of people don't. Even with people that don't have mental illness, other people how they can recognize it. So, do you often have people that bring in? They don't have it, but they just, hey, I need to drop this person off. It's not me, it's them. But in essence, they need to come together because they need to understand on how to deal with that person suffering from mental illness.
I'm so glad you asked that question, because I think a lot of time people believe something has to be intensely wrong to come to therapy. Sometimes people come to therapy because they just got some stuff they want to get off their chest. Sometimes people come to therapy because their family get on their nerves. They're learning how to set boundaries. Sometimes people are dealing with deep seated trauma, emotional concerns, depression, anxiety, etc., personality disorders. But sometimes it could be as simple as, I'm actually very stressed out about work. Everything else is fine, but I just need a place to kind of unload about work. It could be for whatever.
I mean, I found it very helpful to be able to talk about somebody that didn't know me and wasn't gonna
Mhm,
be able to tell, hey, girl, she called me and let me
mhm.
tell you what's going on with her. It was
I
a
love
safe space. So
Yep.
sometimes that safe space is worth the money.
And by law, like, I think it's important for people to know, because I think folks, especially people of color, minorities specifically, have been taught we don't go out the house, we don't tell our business. The therapists are legally obligated by HIPAA to not say anything about you. To not, when you walk, if y'all walk by each other in the grocery store, they don't know you, all of that. Can't tell your business anything legally. Lose your license, can get sued, all of that.
So with that being said, how difficult is it for you to unwind the baggage that's left behind from these sessions?
It can be difficult. One of the things I learned real quick was, when I walk out of my office, I don't think about clients. I don't even. It doesn't even. I have to learn to not think
How
about.
you do that? I want to walk out my door and I think about everybody that's here.
You know what? I don't know. But now is, I close my laptop because I haven't went back to the office yet. I don't know how I built it over time, but I think it's, I know I have to. So
Okay.
I'll close my laptop and my mind just, I think so. I'm excited to be off work, so I'm thinking about, what am I going to eat for dinner? What am I going to do with the rest of my evening? And I just kind of transition.
That is, again, you have to be a special type of person to be in a field where you literally know how to stop after you've been I call it being dumped on because
Mhm.
they're releasing all of their baggage, problems, whatever it is, onto one person, and you that's a talent to be able to not take it with you in your life. This
Mhm.
is your job. You learned how to separate it, so that is amazing. I'm
Mhm.
still trying to learn how to separate, um, working, podcasting, and wine.
Oh,
I have so many things going on at
it's
once.
hard. At
Yeah,
times, difficult. Not that you think about any client in particular, but just like the weight of the day. So it's important to have activities and things after work. Or before the pandemic, I used to all me and my therapist friends. We used to just go to the park, get us some fries, have us a couple drinks, hang out. I pretend like I don't know what's going on the screens when football's on TV. That was my
that
decompress
was
out.
do you often find, that therapists seek other therapists
Oh, yeah,
to get therapy?
one now, most definitely. Important to because we get tired where now we have our own just even separate from the job we have our own histories lives for some people traumas their own depressions and anxieties that they experience that outside of work so yeah even just separate from even if you separate from the job and separate from your history a lot of therapists have therapists.
Wow. Now, one question that I had a viewer reach out. I often post before time to let people know what the conversation is going to be. And a viewer reached out and wanted me to ask, could you explain the difference in being a therapist and a psychologist? Or
I can explain them all so I'm so glad you asked so a lot of times people will come to me and say hey do you write medication for this that and the other
no.
not and let me tell you let So, a therapist is someone who went to school for about 6 years. They have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in therapy, in counseling. That's what they do. They talk to you about concerns and issues. Then there are psychiatrists.
Hmm.
Psychiatrists are the ones who go through medical school, just like a primary care physician, just like a podiatrist, ear, nose, and throat doctor. They go through school, they prescribe medication.
Hmm.
Then you have a psychologist. The psychologist also is a type of a doctor, but not a medical doctor. And they do things like testing, and sometimes they can also do therapy as well.
Wow. So I thought it was only two types. You can
Mhm.
tell that's not my area.
Just
So
of
I
us.
hope that that gives people a little bit of information, so that you know what to ask for when you're searching for help, when you're looking at your insurances to see what it covers, because that is very important to see what your insurance will cover.
Yes.
And what I found for me was that even if it might have been somebody else that I wanted to go to, and I couldn't necessarily use them because insurance wise. And that's up to you if you want to pay out of pocket, whatever the cost may be. I know they have, different things that can be flexible to help people that are struggling. But for me, I wanted to stay within
And
my
that,
insurance plan.
mhm.
It was important for me.
Hacks. I have some hacks that'll be helpful. Number one, if you want to check with somebody who's within your network, on the back of your insurance card, there'll be a phone number. If you call that number, they'll tell you who to go to. If you even if you want very specific thing, they'll tell you. They'll help you find someone that's within your network. And if you don't have insurance, you can always look on literally you could Google nowadays. There's so many different ways to find therapists, but psychology today, therapy for black girls, anything like that. And you can look for people who take a sliding scale, which means they will only charge you according to how much.
How to get income? Yes,
And
yes.
most therapists only have a certain amount of those, so not everybody will be available to you because they might already have their cap. But a lot of people are willing to work with you financially if that's what you want, or if that's what you
And
need.
trust me, please ask about it because one of my previous jobs a long time ago, I had so many hats. I worked in a doctor's office, and if you don't ask, you don't know. You won't know, and those bills will come. That
Mhm.
doesn't change you from getting a bill, whether you have insurance or not. So you need to let them know if you can't afford it, so that you can see if they have any sliding scale, and what they can do for you, payment plans, any of that.
Yep,
And again, look out at your local community centers. A lot of times, people are willing to pay to get people the mental help that they need.
that's right.
Um, we're going to have a discussion coming this weekend on gun laws, and I'm going to have a gun advocate here.
Ooh.
And my biggest concern is mental health and gun laws, people that possess. So you, you know where I'm going with this. Like,
Yes.
how can this problem, um, how can they fix this?
Mhm.
Like a lot of the people that are doing these things and committing these horrible, horrible acts do indeed have mental issues. Right
Yeah.
now, I feel like our country, our world is suffering mentally, and we are busting at the seams, and no one seems to understand that it is the mental part that we need to work on first. So yeah, it's like how do you attack that with your senators, your mayors, all those levels, councilmen and women, when you're just one person, but you're in a large industry.
Yeah.
Of course, everybody looks at it as, oh, it's another industry for money.
Mhm.
It's really necessary right now.
Yes. I don't know much about guns, but I think having easier access to care for mental health, in general would be very helpful. Because I think when people think these people are mentally ill, that they shouldn't suffer consequences, but people can still suffer consequences of their actions and also be mentally ill. And
That's
having
right.
more access to mental health, I think would be really helpful because a lot of times these people, there were signs before they started doing this wild.
That's yes. Do you have any statistics on how mental health is between men and women, or anything that you can give some of the audience so they can understand how big this is?
And directly about just mental health in with gender.
Yeah, and it can be whatever you feel that something that directly about in your field.
One thing we know for sure, men are significantly less likely to reach out for therapy. And as we know, so especially when we watch TV every other day, a lot of the time the people when we talk about who are committing these mass shootings are men.
Mhm.
So the people who are needing it, the people who are the ones who are, acting in this way are the people who are less likely to get therapy. And I think that just has to do with the stigma of mental health and mental illness in general.
Do you feel that it's getting better within the Black community?
Way, way better. It's getting
Okay.
so much better. I think the more Black clinicians we have, the more Black people are feeling
Feel
comfortable
comfortable.
therapy. And then there's easier ways to find therapists. It's becoming something we're talking about more because before we didn't talk about it. We locked somebody up in a room somewhere if they were severely mentally ill and we just didn't talk about it. Now it's something we're discussing more and more, and where it's easier to find another clinician that looks like you and that provides a sense of safety.
Wow. That amazes me that it's 2021 and we're still pushing our community to understand the importance of mental health.
Honestly think it's fair. I think the
Yeah.
reluctancy but before I tell you about the reluctancy of why people go to therapy, what you drinking on?
Well, this here, normally I drink tea, everyone, but
Uh-huh.
tonight, I am drinking something special because in the next 48 hours, I will be pressing a button to launch my website on Polari wines. This
Yeah.
wine, this is my new tester. So we're releasing the white wine. This one I'm testing is the rosé. So if this one goes well, this will be the next one that will be released. So
Come on.
I want everybody to stay tuned for the rosé. But the white wine will be released on this Friday on the website, and I hope everyone can play a part. And even if you don't drink, buy it for somebody else that does.
Mm.
Trust me, they'll enjoy it.
Sit it somewhere and let it look pretty.
Yeah, right?
Mhm.
Because the logo and everything, even if you don't drink, it's just nice to just put it up for decoration. I have a great aunt that does not drink, and she's so excited for me. She's like, "Just send me one just so I can put it up."
Mm.
So I'm so
Support.
grateful for the support on that.
Mm.
But yes, I am now drinking my own wines.
We love to see it.
Yes, yes.
Yes, I
You're
think
doing so much in our communities now, coming up with so many things,
Mhm. Brilliant.
just excelling.
I agree. I think going back to the reason why people are reluctant to therapy, there's good reason why people are reluctant to go to therapy. If we think about Black folks' history with the medical field, between you know all type of experiments, you could just literally pick one. Women being
Yeah, talking.
people being injected with syphilis. Black folks are very reluctant when it comes to medical professionals in general, and therapists are listed under medical professionals. So I could understand the reluctancy, but that's why I think it's so helpful for us to have more people in the field who look like us, because then it does provide a sense of safety versus you going to somebody who you don't trust. You don't know what they're going to do with this information. Just that sense of mistrust is valid and rational.
Yeah, you say more people that look like us, but how do you recruit? How do I was just this is not to do with mental health, but I was just talking to someone else today, and I'm always having conversations. That's who I am. On the fact that in their city right now, they're starting to look at the people that they're hiring in these positions and in police and fire because they're not coming from within their communities. They're
Mhm,
coming from out of state. And I was explaining to him, I said, I can remember how you would have career day where
mhm.
these people would come and talk and tell you about it. And you as a kid would be interested and want to do these things or come around to school in the uniform just on a whim or
When was the last
at
time I saw one of those?
yeah, at the last 12th grade, right before you graduate, you would have all these people to come, even if you didn't choose to go to college. Here are some other things. Here's some city jobs. You don't get that anymore. So you don't. How do you recruit people that look like you to be in a field like mental health so that more of us can get the help we need? You
Mhm.
know?
I think when you see that your kid is struggling, being able to get them into therapy has a positive influence on how they see therapy. I think that's a big one. And then also cultivating kids' natural talents. So, like, say for instance, you have a kid who is really interested in how computers work, like cultivating that makes more computer engineers or people who enjoy helping people and talking to people and assisting people. If you see your kid like to help people out when they feel sad, like cultivating things that they're naturally interested in, I think is really helpful.
Okay. Okay. What are some of the projects that you and your practice that you're working on, or do you have any projects or any outreach things that you want people to know about and be aware of?
Yes, since my practice is full, I'm no longer accepting new clients, but what I've been moving to a lot is working on my blog. So that's once again on Instagram. And you can find me on Facebook. I don't update it as much, but it's also Shanita B. But on Instagram, it is Shanita with two underscores B. I try to make mental health stuff more relatable for people and give people mental health tips to help them think about mental health and to grow emotionally.
Yeah. Yeah. I just feel that this month I really wanted to focus on mental health because it's growing. And I have people that in my own family, in my own circle, friends that suffer with it. And it needs to be discussed more. So I wanted to have people like yourself and more people to come um, that would be willing to talk and give the information that people need. Is there anything else that you want viewers to know about mental health and about you and where they can find you or anything like that?
Yes. One thing, if nobody remembers anything else that I say, the biggest thing I want your viewers to know that reaching out for mental health assistance, reaching out for help does not mean anything about your character or your strength, how you might perceive strength in an unhealthy way. It means that you need help and that you're human and that people like me and other people who look all type of ways are here specifically to help you, and it is our job to help you, and we're waiting for you whenever you're ready. You can find me at shanitaburgess.com. I am available for speaking gigs. I have spoken at churches, in academia, podcasts, places like TV
Talk show.
shows. I love talking about mental health. I like making it relatable and fun. I am not your stuffy TV therapist. I'm here to have a good time and talk with you guys. So you can find me once again at ShanitaBurgess.com.
See that, guys? Mental health does not always have to be a downer. That's going to be some of my last things that I'm going to say this evening. I went to an event this past weekend, and it was a beautiful mental health event. I mean,
Mhm.
it wasn't a most people go, I'm not going to that. That's depressing. I don't want to hear about what people have been through or what they're going through. That's just too much. I got my own stuff. But in hearing about these, you know, people breaking through it and getting over it, it was more joyous than anything. So this conversation tonight with Miss B, that's what I like to call her. It's fun. It was informational. It wasn't stuffy. It wasn't it was great. So I want to hear more. I want you to be able to come back on if anything you want to push or any projects you want to work on, you're welcome
Yeah,
to come back.
I'd love to.
And I hope that you'll be a part of the Polare wine collection that is releasing on Friday.
Hey,
And I thank you so, so, so much for coming on this evening and taking the time out to talk about mental health with others.
of
This is Chrissy, and we are saying goodbye this evening, but I will be back on Saturday at 9 p.m. because, again, I will be discussing guns. Yes, guns. That's something a lot of guys been waiting for. So we're gonna have someone that owns their own gun range. That is a African American man. So he's gonna have a different viewpoint for a lot of people, where he can explain to you why he thinks it's important for you to own a gun. So I hope you can join me at 9 p.m. on Saturday here on Facebook Live. Remember to like, share, comment this interview and just continue the conversation because that's what we're all about, continuing good conversations that are meaningful. Not any nonsense, meaningful conversations that's going to get us someplace. So thank you again. Good night.
night. Bye.
Wine on the table, tea in the cup. Talking about life, yeah, we leveling up. From the hustle to the heart and everything between. Sip slow, lean back, join the scene. Wine, wealth, tea, that's the vibe.
This episode of Wine, Wealth, and Tea podcast is sponsored by Some Reasons. Life is too short to not enjoy the beauty of wine, whether it's wine education, consultation, a private wine tasting and wine dinner, or an outing to a national or international vineyard. Contact Some Reasons at somreasons.com. That's SOMMEREASONS.com via TikTok, Instagram, or LinkedIn. There's always some reasons to let the world of wine enchant you. Sip slow, my friends.